Hey everyone, today we're stepping into a quiet conversation, the kind that doesn't happen in loud bars or crowded group chats, but in the stillness between glances. You're sitting across from her at a tiny cafe table. The world is blurry, but her energy isn't. She's not even saying anything, and yet somehow you feel like you've never been this seen before. And if you think you can control how others feel about you, then maybe that's exactly what you haven't let go of yet. So, before you get too comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you really enjoy what I do here. Let me know where you're tuning in from and what time it is over there. Now, turn off the lights, maybe turn on a fan for some soft background noise, and let's begin today's journey together. You don't always know how to name it, but when you're around her, something in your chest loosens. The usual tension, the buzzing pressure to be sharp, interesting, impressive, just fades. And what's left is this strange, steady quiet. Not the awkward kind, the kind that feels like safety, like the world isn't so loud anymore. She doesn't even have to say much. It's the way she enters a room, like she's not trying to fill it. It's the stillness she carries, like her presence knows how to lower the temperature of a storm. So you tell her, you pause for a beat and say, you make everything feel peaceful. And maybe her first instinct is to laugh it off or raise an eyebrow like she doesn't know what to do with that. Because most compliments she gets are surface level. Nice dress, great smile. You're hot. Words that land and disappear like foam on a wave. But this one, it settles in. Because she's not used to being told that just being who she is makes someone else breathe easier. And you meant it. You didn't script it. You didn't read it from a forum. You just felt it. That when she walks into a space, it's like someone dimmed the chaos. And that feeling, man, that's rare. Most people chase fire, but you're drawn to stillness. Because chaos is familiar, but peace is powerful. Philosophers still debate whether love is born in tension or in harmony, but you've learned something simpler. Anyone can make your heart race, but very few can make it slow down. You see her with a kind of attention that isn't greedy. You're not looking to take, you're just there, feeling it. Like when you turn the volume down on your music and realize you've been shouting at yourself all day. That's what she does, without trying. You ever notice how hard it is to find someone who doesn't want to be the loudest person in the room? Someone who doesn't need to compete with everything else buzzing in your brain. That's her gift, a kind of emotional hush. She might not even know she's doing it, which makes it even better. You're not complimenting her performance. You're noticing her energy. It's like complimenting the breeze instead of the kite. And in a world full of men who think seduction is about speed pressure and performance, you're taking the opposite approach. You're telling her, I'm here. I feel you. And this peace, this calm, that's your magic. Funny how the loudest compliment you can give sometimes comes in a whisper. And here's the quirky part, she might remember this one line for years. Not because it was poetic, but because it was rare. Because you gave her credit for something she never gets credit for being a place, not just a person. Remember when you tried that scented candle bath bomb self-care Sunday trend and ended up setting off the fire alarm? Yeah, that didn't work. But her, she's peace without effort. So you tell her, and in doing so, you become unforgettable. Not because you tried to be, but because you finally said the one thing no one else did. It's easy to compliment the obvious, her smile, her voice, the way her hair catches the light when she laughs. But the world already notices those things. What most people miss is the universe behind her eyes. You listen to her talk about books about people, about something random like why she believes time feels slower when you're sad. And somewhere in between her tangents and metaphors, you catch yourself leaning in. Not because she's trying to be smart, but because she already is effortlessly. And you say it. The way your mind works, it's beautiful. That line. It's a quiet revolution. Because for most of her life, beauty has been something tied to her appearance, her body, her style, her skin. Even compliments that sound deep usually circle back to how she looks when she's being deep. But this one hits different. This one tells her, I'm not attracted to the idea of you. I'm fascinated by the way you think. There's a kind of intimacy that comes from intellectual connection. Philosophers still argue about the line between love and admiration, but when you say this, you blur the boundary entirely. You're not admiring from a distance. You're engaging, participating. You're in the current of her thoughts, not just watching the ripples. And let's be real, a woman's mind is not a simple place. It's a layered, non-linear, emotional, sensory, logic dream machine that processes the world in colors you didn't even know existed. She's not just analyzing life. She's feeling it, reframing it, interpreting it through instincts sharpened by experience. So when you notice that not just her conclusions, but her process, she feels it deep because you're not just listening to respond, you're listening to understand. And here's where it gets quirky. You'll notice the way she organizes her thoughts is like her Spotify playlists, a little chaotic, totally specific, and weirdly perfect for the moment. She's the kind of woman who says something like, "My brain is like a Pinterest board that updates every time I breathe and actually means it." And instead of being overwhelmed by that, you're intrigued. You don't rush her, you don't correct her, you just explore with her. There's something so human about that, so safe. It says, "I respect your mind, not just your mood." Most men miss this. They wait for the pause so they can speak again. You wait to hear how she wraps a thought, not just how she starts one. And you start seeing how her mind isn't just sharp, it's kind. It holds space for contradiction. It forgives. It questions everything while still choosing to love. That's rare. So you tell her, not in a dramatic way, just calm, present, honest. "I love how your mind works." It's not a flirt, it's a mirror, and it reflects something she's been hoping someone would finally see. Because while beauty might make her feel visible, it's compliments like this that make her feel known. She's not the loudest in the room. She doesn't post her struggles with a dramatic soundtrack and a 3 paragraph caption. She just carries it quietly, with grace. And maybe no one ever tells her this, but you notice. The way she shows up for others, even when she's running on emotional fumes. The way she holds space for everyone's needs without ever demanding her own be met first. The way she keeps walking even when her legs are shaking beneath the weight of everything she doesn't talk about. And so you say it, "You're so strong," and you don't even brag about it. That sentence, that's oxygen. Because here's what nobody teaches you. Growing up, women are strong in ways that often go unnoticed. Not just in the "you're a boss" kind of way, but in the "you didn't fall apart even though you had every right to" kind of way. Philosophers still argue whether true strength is visible or invisible, but you've seen enough to know that real strength is usually quiet. It doesn't need a spotlight. It just keeps showing up. And maybe she laughs when you say it or shrugs like it's no big deal, but inside, something unravels. Because finally, someone isn't just thanking her for what she does, they're honoring what she endures. She might be working full time checking in on her family healing from an old heartbreak that no one even knows about. She might be holding it together with a prayer and a playlist, and she does it without complaint. You're not applauding her for putting on a show. You're appreciating the strength she doesn't show. And here's the quirky part: when she's scrolling through her phone later, halfway through some cat video and a weird TikTok about how to fold a fitted sheet in 4 seconds, that line will echo. Because no one else said it. No one else looked close enough to notice. And here's the thing: you're not saying it to fix her or to get points. You're saying it because you see her. The kind of seeing that has nothing to do with eyes. You don't rush in with solutions. You don't treat her like a project. You just offer recognition. There's a beauty in that. Most men are so focused on trying to impress a woman that they forget to witness her. But you're different. You're saying, "I know life hasn't been light for you," and yet here you are, still kind, still standing, still giving. And that kind of compliment doesn't just land, it lingers. She may not show it in the moment, but she'll remember. On the hard days, in the quiet moments, in the dark when she's crying in the shower and wondering if anyone really gets it. She'll remember that one man said, "You're strong, and you don't even need to prove it." Because that's not just a compliment, that's a mirror, a sacred one. And in a world where everyone wants something from her, you gave her something back. You can't quite name it, but it's there. The moment she walks into a room, something in you shifts, like a low frequency hum that only your soul can hear. She doesn't have to speak, she doesn't have to try. Her energy, whatever it is, reaches you first. So you look her in the eyes and say, "There's something about your energy. I don't even know what it is, but it moves me." Now, that might sound vague to someone who's used to compliments with structure: "Nice dress, great laugh, you're so pretty." But this one's deeper because it's not about form, it's about frequency. She may pause, tilt her head, smile with a little disbelief, because most of her life she's been praised for how she looks, not how she feels. Philosophers still explore the nature of aura, that invisible ripple we all give off. And though there's no scientific unit for vibe, you know when you feel it. It's like gravity and light all at once. And hers, it's unmistakable. You're not complimenting her because she performed. You're noticing her because she didn't. That's what makes it real and rare. You ever meet someone whose silence is louder than most people's speeches? That's her. Her energy speaks first, even when her mouth stays closed. There's a quirky kind of honesty in telling someone, "I don't even understand it. I just feel something when I'm near you." Because in a world addicted to over explaining and over texting and over analyzing every signal, sometimes the most honest thing you can say is, I don't know what this is, but it's real. And that realness, it cuts through the noise. You're not trying to figure her out. You're not trying to turn her into a checklist of compatibility. You're just present enough to feel her presence. Most people miss this. They're too busy swiping, evaluating, predicting outcomes. But energy doesn't care about logic. It either stirs something in you or it doesn't. And when hers stirs something in you, you say it. That's what separates you from every man who only knows how to flatter with the words they read online. You didn't rehearse this, you felt it. And maybe the energy you're picking up on is kindness, or stillness, or resilience wrapped in softness. Whatever it is, it touched something in you, it made you pause. And that pause, that's where the connection starts. You're not saying you're mine. You're saying you're something, and I feel it. Thank you for existing like that. And you know what happens when a woman hears that? She exhales. Because now she's not being judged, not being analyzed, not being wooed. She's just being. And you let her know that's enough. That's intimacy. That's spiritual chemistry. That's the compliment that doesn't need to land in her ears because it already found its way into her chest. So yeah, tell her, even if you don't understand it, even if your words fumble, because saying there's something about your energy might just be the most honest thing you'll ever say. It's not about impressing her. It's not about earning approval. It's not even about fixing yourself. It's something quieter than that, something more internal. She walks into your life and suddenly the noise fades and your excuses do too. You're not trying to be better for her in a performative sense. You just feel like you'd be wasting something sacred if you didn't grow. That's the difference. So one day in a moment that doesn't feel big or dramatic, you say it, you make me want to be better. And maybe she looks confused. Maybe she asks, what do you mean? Because she's not used to that kind of compliment, the kind that's not about her hair or her body or her style, but about her impact. Philosophers still debate the nature of transformation, whether it begins internally or is sparked externally. You now know it's both. It starts inside you, but sometimes it's triggered by someone who mirrors your potential better than you can. She does that. Not because she lectures, not because she nags, not because she tries to mold you, but because she lives in alignment with her values, and that alignment makes you want your own. You find yourself double-checking your actions not out of shame, but out of pride. You start showing up with a little more presence. You think before you speak. You reflect before you react. Not to win her, but to meet her. To stand on ground that matches hers. There's something beautiful about that kind of influence. It's quiet, it's indirect, but it's powerful. It's like when you're watching her laugh with someone's kid in a checkout line, or when she stands up for someone who doesn't even know they need defending. And you feel it, that ache to do better, to be better, not because she asked for it, but because she reminded you that it's possible. Here's the quirky thing: we think growth is about books and podcasts and seminars. But sometimes it's just about meeting someone who gently holds up a mirror and says, you already had this in you. I'm just reflecting it back. And when you say to her, you make me want to be better, you're doing more than giving her a compliment. You're offering her reverence. You're saying, you matter. You inspire. You lead by example. She doesn't become your project. She becomes your catalyst. You're not chasing her light. You're becoming your own. And that tells her something rare and powerful, that her presence has value even beyond your connection. It's not flattery, it's not romantic manipulation, it's soul-level acknowledgement. And you know what? That lands deeper than any "you're beautiful" ever could. Because now she's not just your interest, she's your ignition. It sneaks up on you. You didn't plan on saying it. You're just mid-conversation, halfway through a story you wouldn't normally share, and you realize you're not performing. You're not trying to sound cool. You're not curating your words like a highlight reel. You're just existing. And it feels easy, safe, real. So you say it. I feel like I can be myself around you. And in that moment, the atmosphere changes. Not because you said something dramatic, but because you handed her a piece of your unfiltered self and trusted her to hold it gently. That's rare. In fact, philosophers still question whether true authenticity can exist in relationships shaped by social performance. But here you are, laughing too hard at your own dumb joke, admitting you still Google how to fold a fitted sheet, talking about that one childhood memory that still hits too hard, and it doesn't feel risky. It feels right. You see, she's not trying to mold you. She's not correcting your posture or polishing your opinions. She just lets you be. And that kind of freedom, it's intoxicating. You don't realize how much weight you carry until someone makes you feel light without asking you to shrink. She creates a space where your guard drops and your shoulders finally lower from your ears, where silence doesn't feel awkward, where your worst moments don't feel like liabilities. And here's the quirky observation: she might not even try to be that for you. She's not reading a script from a relationship coach, she's just present. And her presence says, you're allowed here, as you are. So when you say, I feel like I can be myself around you, what you're really saying is, I trust you. Not with my highlight reel, but with the messy parts. You're offering her a kind of vulnerability most men bury. And she feels it, not just in her ears and her chest. Because women aren't just looking to feel safe around a man, they're hoping to be a safe place for him too. And that's what makes this line powerful. You're not just making a confession, you're making a choice. You're choosing to be human in a world that demands armor. And when she hears those words, she knows she's not just another connection, she's a home. And maybe that's the point. Love doesn't always arrive like a lightning strike. Sometimes it shows up in the quiet realization that you're not performing anymore. You're just being, and she makes that possible. That's the compliment that sticks. That's the moment she won't forget. Because now it's not just attraction, it's sanctuary. This isn't a line you throw out on a first date. It's not something you say to fill silence or impress her with your emotional vocabulary. It's something you feel slowly, steadily, in the quiet space between who she is and how you feel around her. And one day when it feels real and grounded, you say it, you're the kind of woman I could build peace with. Not just have fun with, not just feel sparks with, but build peace with. That word peace, it lands differently. Because for her, peace hasn't always been part of the equation. She's known excitement drama, those fleeting highs that burn bright and then vanish. But peace, that's something she's had to create for herself in the absence of it. So when you speak those words, her body hears them first, then her heart, then her mind, and somewhere deep down, her soul exhales. Because you're not just noticing her beauty, you're noticing her foundation. And let's be honest, the world rarely celebrates women for being peaceful. They're praised for being bold, sexy, ambitious, mysterious. But peaceful? That's not glamorous enough. Until now. Philosophers still discuss whether love is built on chaos or calm, but you've lived enough to know that excitement fades. And when it does, you're left with either peace or problems. And she feels like peace. The way she listens, the way she doesn't escalate every disagreement, the way she gives you space without making it feel like distance, the way she lets the silence stretch without panic because she trusts it'll lead somewhere meaningful. It's not just that she's peaceful, it's that she makes you want to protect that peace together. And here's the quirky thing: this isn't a fantasy about cabin getaways and matching mugs. It's about the little things. Folding laundry on a Sunday without resentment, talking through a bad day without turning it into a blame game, falling asleep next to each other without the need to overanalyze every breath. That kind of peace, it's holy. So when you say, I could build peace with you, she hears, I see a life here, not a phase, not a thrill, a home. And it's not because she's perfect, it's because she doesn't try to be. She's grounded, honest, unafraid to be soft without shrinking, unafraid to be strong without performing. You're not complimenting a moment, you're naming a possibility. And that's what sets you apart. Because while everyone else talks about chemistry, you're talking about co-creation. And maybe she won't respond with words. Maybe she'll just smile, look down, let the silence carry it. But trust me, she heard you. Because no one else said that. You sit with her, not always talking. Sometimes just existing side by side. And it hits you. There's something happening beneath the surface. Not lust, not infatuation. Something slower, stranger. Something that doesn't quite fit into language. So you tell her, you make me feel something I can't explain. And that right there, that's when she leans in, not physically maybe, but emotionally. Because now you're not giving her a compliment meant to impress. You're offering her a piece of your mystery. You're inviting her into the unknown, and that is rare. Most men want to label, to define, to clarify, but here you are admitting that you don't understand what you're feeling, only that it's real. And that is disarming, because so much of a woman's life is spent being dissected, compared, interpreted, judged, but this isn't analysis, it's awe. Philosophers still reflect on the limits of language, how some truths can only be pointed to, never described. That's what you're doing. You're not decoding her. You're simply saying, there's a frequency between us, and I feel it. And what's beautiful and funny in a way is that she's probably felt it too, but she didn't know if she could trust it. Until now. You gave it a name. Or rather, you gave it a space to exist without needing a name. And that matters more than you know. Because it's not about controlling the narrative or defining the relationship. It's about honoring the feeling, The raw, electric, aching alive feeling that rises between two people who are emotionally present. The quirky thing, that sentence might echo in her mind during the most random moments, while brushing her teeth, while looking at the sky, while stirring her coffee. Because now she knows she affected you not just logically, but viscerally. You weren't trying to be deep, you weren't trying to be romantic, you were just honest. And in a world full of polished lines and over rehearsed text threads, honesty like that, it sticks. It vibrates. It roots. It says, I'm not here to figure you out. I'm here to feel what's real with you. And that changes everything. Because when a woman realizes she makes you feel something you can't explain, she doesn't feel like a project. She feels like a force. And that's the compliment that doesn't fade. Not because it's poetic, but because it's true. So here you are, 8 sentences, 8 truths, 8 moments where presence replaced performance. None of these compliments are pickup lines. They're not hacks. They're not strategies. They're reflections. Tiny mirrors held up in silence offered not to impress, but to connect. Because in the end, words don't make someone fall, but presence does. And when that presence is shaped by honesty, emotional safety, and deep awareness, that's when a woman doesn't just remember what you said, she remembers how she felt with you. Like peace, like clarity, like home. So speak gently, speak sincerely, and never underestimate the power of a sentence that comes from stillness. In a world full of noise, you stand out not by being louder, but by being truer. And if just one of these compliments makes someone feel seen, heard, or safe, then maybe that's exactly the kind of man you've always been becoming. End of script. Have a beautiful day.